Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Sync Sessions live aligned and activated series. I'm super excited to be here today with Kat, and we're going to talk about all things mind, body, soul, and business, and her journey and how she got started. So her business is the Breath Lab, and it's a space for real healing guided by science, soul, and self-love. So she really loves to help people reconnect with their breath as a portal for healing the nervous system regulation and embodying your self-awareness. So Kat, I would love to have you introduce yourself a little bit further and dive into you and your business and your journey and how you got started.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and for holding this space and let people to share the experience and how they help others to rise up. So, yeah, well, my I always have a fascination for body and how the movement heals, and that's why I decided to study physical therapist. So I'm a physical therapist, and I always was like fascinated about how the body works and how everything is connected and everything. And but that makes me understand a lot about the body. And then I have a few moments in my life that I was like, oh, wait a second. I have to understand that in my body, how I bring this to my body. And I have some um, everybody, I guess, everybody has some kind of like traumas and some kind of things that I have to deal with when you get to a point in adulthood and you start like, oh, wait a second, take a pause and you see, oh, I've been acting like that my whole life, but this is not serving me anymore, right? So you're starting to kind of be aware of that and start making some shifts in your life that help you to keep going and moving forward. So I have a few of those in my life. And when I was done studying physical therapy, I start in a medical device industry. So I moved from this clinical aspect to sales, kind of. And but I think for me it was very easy to transition in the way that um, having all my formation on anatomy and physiology, I do understand the why for the tools and the devices that we were selling and bringing up into the market. So I kind of like talk the same language that the doctors talk, and that gave me like an edge against, let's say, or no against, but over the other reps that maybe have just a background in administration of things like that. So I was very strong clinically, and that helped me a lot. But then I started studying, I had studied an MBA, and I could combine and like I could blend my clinical aspect with my strategy and business side. And by the age of 25, I was already working with a big company, and I was a regional manager for Latin America. So I was kind of like living my dream at 25 years old, every Monday, taking a plane to go somewhere else. And I was like so like in this type of life that I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I'm learning about new cultures. I'm eating great food. I'm learning a lot. And that was very cool in my career life. But in my personal life, I think I was in some way very disconnected from my body and my emotions, especially. Um, I start my healing journey when I was 23. And for the first time in my life, um, I spoke about a trauma that I had when I was a kid, when somebody from my family hurt me. And that thing kind of like I put it in somewhere in my brain and forget about it. And I pretend that that never happened. And I always was like this type of fun kid, right? And it was like super silly and goofy. And and like not popular, but I have a lot of friends, and I always was like kind of like fun, a people that people likes to be around because it's like super fun and things like that. So I guess nobody could like tell that I was kind of like struggling with myself when I was just with myself. Some things that helped me to kind of deal mentally with that, even when I was blocking that memory and not really dealing with it exactly, was writing. I was writing a lot, and that was kind of like my therapy during my teenagers when I was a teenager. Um, and I was just writing whatever comes to me. I was just like putting on paper, like whatever. And it's kind of fun because I start just leaving my poems or whatever I was writing, whatever if I was in the desk, I would just leave it there. If I was in my room, I just leave it there. And one day my mom came with a little box and she was like, "Hey, I think this is yours." And I was like, "Oh, what is that?" And I opened the box and it was a bunch of things that I wrote myself. And I was like, wow, what is this? I don't even know that she was just collecting all that. I was just for me, it could go to the garbage. I was not really taking care of it. But that was one of the things that helped me. Another thing was when this episode came up and I finally spoke with my parents about what had happened when I was around like 7, 8 years old. Uh, it that opened up a whole healing journey that involved myself, my relation with my parents, and kind of understanding why I was showing up in the way that I was showing up in the world in some ways. Like um, a lot of people pleasing, a lot of um, a lot of kind of like demonstrate that I could do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not really being vulnerable and let the people know how I was feeling actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole thing like that. And I started doing a lot of workshops on healing. I started going into a lot of spirituality. Um, I don't know, like embracing different type of religions and cultures and things like that. And I started learning a lot about and reading a lot about, um, I don't know, like Hare Krishnas and a lot of different types of Hinduism, Buddhism, a lot of things that kind of like I wanted to fulfill that kind of emptiness that I was feeling when this blew up. So I started
Mm-hmm.
doing all that kind of stuff. And in that of course helped me a lot when I was 26, and this is a point that I was like, oh, okay. When I was 26, one of my friends that I used to go to all the kind of like spiritual things, it's like cacao ceremonies and all of that, she invited me to a workshop that was about conscious fertility. And I wasn't planning to have kids at 26, and I was just like having my best life with my job and everything. And I was like, it's not that I'm planning to have kids, but this sounds like interesting. So I went there and I've been looking at what you share about it, and you talk about a lot of like your cycle and things like that. And I went there and that blew my mind because even as a physical therapist and even when I knew a lot about anatomy and physiology and everything, I was blown away that I knew nothing about my own cycle, my
Mm-hmm.
own body, in my own like self kind of.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh wait a second. What? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. And that was a point that I was like, whoa, okay. I was when I was 19, I started taking birth control pills.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was just taking a pill, and I was very like disciplined on that. But that was kind of like my responsibility with myself. Just taking the
Mm-hmm.
pill every like 21 days, 1 week of non-bleed, and that's it. But I didn't know anything. And one of the things that it teach me also was that I was so scared about feeling. I was
Mm-hmm.
so scared about feeling. I was so scared because also of like the traumas that I had in the past that kind of like put a like a shell on me about anything that was unpleasant or give me discomfort or just didn't like it. I didn't want to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
all in the nice emotions, but if I have a hard emotion that I have to deal with, I didn't know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stopped taking birth control pills, I always I thought I was gonna get crazy because I started having all these hormonal changes in me, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And I started having a little more connection with myself because I was learning how to read my period, how to read my fluids, how to smell. What? You smell that thing? Like things like that that I didn't know, like uh changes and all of that, that kind of like centered in me, and I start to know myself in a completely different way that make me to reclaim my feminine aspect, which
Mm-hmm.
was completely neglected for so long because I was in this super masculine energy of having success and doing and having my career, and I was just showing up like a super I don't know, generating money and all that. I was like super masculine in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that was vulnerable, everything that was grounded, everything that was creating from scratch, like planting a seed, I didn't know nothing about that. So I was like, whoa, I don't know anything about myself. And I start working on that. And I start feeling also things that I need to change, especially because I was in relationships that bring me anything
Mm-hmm.
but I mean I'm very grateful for all the experiences that I have in my life, and I couldn't be here if it's not because of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I had very kind of toxic relationship, and I was just there just because I was used to be there. And for me, it was so easy to be there because I was traveling all the time. So I didn't have time actually for meet a new person and start dating and start knowing each other. So for me, it was very easy to stay with the person that I was in that time just because I was used to be, and I was so scared to be alone. I was
Mm-hmm.
so scared. I mean, I break with him a few times, but I always come back to him because as soon as I start feeling this loneliness kind of, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Ugh, I cannot deal with it." So my body started telling me signs of. I have a few moments with um, when I feel like I couldn't breathe. Just I was just like maybe having dinner or talking with him or something, but I was just not in love with him. I mean, I do love him in like as a friend, but I didn't admire him. I didn't. I was like, oh, this is my soulmate. This is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life. Even though we were going over there, but inside of me, I no. And I started having those signs of feeling that I couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't breathe. What is this? Um, and that kind of like looking now in retrospective, that
Mm-hmm.
like kind of pushed me to be more aware of my breathing patterns and of my things. But anyway, I was like so busy working and traveling and everything that I ignore all that. And I
Yeah.
start being in this kind of spiritual bypass in my
Mm.
life where I just I was just living in this mindset work of affirmations and everything was kind of like make it up, right? Like it was a makeup on the things that I was actually dealing with, but I didn't want to because being spiritual means you are kind of like having a lot of light, right? That was in my spiritual bypass. That was the thing. I was like, no, I'm peace, I'm love, I'm I'm with this vibe of I love everybody, everything's okay, right? So I was just a very positive person, but I was actually not doing the work that I had to do.
Yep, that makes sense. So how,
So
so I love
yeah.
that how that is kind of all coming together too, of like how you were talking about what's kind of on the top level of what other people see or kind of how you saw yourself projecting outward. But in reality, that was like the money and stuff that's at like the top that everybody can see. But in reality, there was chaos that was happening. And I love how your cycle kind of brought that all together. Because for me, it was something similar in the sense of me connecting with my body and being able to then use that, which it reconnected me into my intuition. And I think we don't realize when we are put on the pill, it stops a whole half of your cycle. So, like, you're
um,
never able to actually get to the point where you are radiant and then you have all of these different moments. And we're meant to live cyclically. And when you deny your body that innate nature of being cyclical, it's it's just crazy the things that you're kind of preventing yourself from feeling or from experiencing. And that's really like the true healing. And when you come down to it, it's like whatever's on top of wealth, so to speak, is such an outward in our society, at least it's so outward as far as like, what is your success? Did you rise into the corporate ladder? Like you were talking about, how much money do you have? What brands are you wearing? But in reality, the actual wealth is really our health, and it's connecting back to all of those innate natures and coming into alignment in mind, body, soul, and really being able to feel those different things.
yeah.
So, what was your process or kind of the feelings that you had felt when you started to feel again? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Well, I was just feeling overwhelmed, kind of, with all the um yeah, because when you're in the birth control, you're just like numbing your
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
So when you stop taking it and you start actually feeling the movement of the cycle, and you every single day, every single week, it's like you're a different person. You're like, how I deal with it. This is like
Yeah.
too much, especially when I was like traveling all the time and I have meetings all the time and I have to be on podiums talking to doctors about things like that. I have to be ready all the time. And then all of a sudden like my energy was low or
Yeah.
I was very emotional. All the time I started feeling like crying for a movie or things like that that I was like, no, in the past. And now I was feeling that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? How I deal with this? And I just didn't like to feel. I just didn't like to feel. And that's why I started working with all these different type of um, healing techniques and I went to Reiki and I did a lot of acupuncture and I did a lot of like uh floral therapy and like I did a lot of
Yeah.
energetic um things and also I was working with a lot of affirmations which I thought I was ready for the next step and that bring me to I thought I was ready for an ayahuasca retreat.
Okay.
And and I was like, I've been doing all this work. I know I could do it. Now I could handle, but I have this silly expectation that I think that some people had about ayahuasca, that it's gonna be that the plant gonna just heal you, right? The medicine just
Yeah.
gonna fix you, just gonna fix you, just gonna go take it. I kind of know that it's gonna be unpleasant and it's gonna be not for fun, definitely. But I thought it's gonna be, I just gonna take it and release it, and I'm gonna be just floating around. And actually, I went to Peru. I went to I went to Peru, and oh, this is the, sorry.
That's okay.
I I went to Peru, and I did a 5 day retreat. They were like
Okay.
three different ceremonies. And man, that feeling that I had, I was like, I was so scared. I was just so scared because this thing that I was like, oh, it's gonna fix me, is actually just like strip me away
Yeah.
and just bring me all that I was avoiding to feel, to hear, and to sense. It was just like
Yeah.
just crack me open and just there for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I never vomited so much in my life. That
Yeah.
was insane. Actually, like the second ceremony, I spent most of my 6 hours just throwing up.
Oh, wow.
And it was completely, that thing completely that like destroyed me.
Yeah.
So I always said that it has been like the best and the worst thing that I ever did in my life. But not the worst and the bad thing. It was just like throwing up is not fun. It's not. It is not.
Yeah.
And especially when you do it like for like 4 hours in a row. Like,
Oh,
no, you don't, it's not fun.
yeah. No.
But I remember that after the retreat, and you come to like real life. I mean, I feel like kind of light in the meantime that you are in the retreat, right? You kind of feel like better, and you feel lighter. Um, we did a yoga class, and I was doing positions that I never could do before. I was just like so flexible and so like it was perfect. But then when you come back to real life, that's when you have to take responsibility
Mm.
and you have to deal with yourself.
I love, yeah, that's a really strong realization too.
That that's when you're like, oh, okay, this is my responsibility, and I have to like, because you are not the same person anymore after
Yeah.
that. After you open up and you see the things and you feel the things and you, oh, it's like you see the things that you have to change, and is yes or yes, you have to change.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if not, you have this kind of like feeling, this kind of hearing that is like telling you, do it, do it, do
Yeah.
it. And if you don't do it, it screams for you to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like a force you with love to do like the change.
Yeah.
And I remember that um it was, I had to adjust myself to be in the real life, and I didn't know how to deal with that and keep doing all the things that I was doing and traveling and like all that,
Hmm.
and being still with the person that I was, knowing that I didn't have to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And one of my questions during my ceremony was how I could be a better person, how I could be a better partner. That was my question. How I could be a better partner. And my answer was like, just be you, but like a real you. Just be you.
Mm. Which is, I think, I was talking to a friend yesterday about authenticity and being seen. And I think that there is a difference between being seen and then being seen fully for who you are. And I think that people don't really understand that sometimes. And sometimes we don't even see ourselves that way. Like you said, when you were on birth control, it's like, who am I? Who is this identity? And
Mm.
there's different versions of you, whether that's authentic or inauthentic, or if you're kind of masking it just because of the people pleasing or those different things. And then you're right, like once you start that spiritual journey, and you start to unlayer it, there's a lot of layers, and then there's
Yeah.
um, a lot of different variations of you every time you kind of up level from that experience. And I love how you mentioned too that it's not just that integration or that healing thing that you think is just going to strip it all away and you're just going to be fine and life is going to be perfect afterwards, but you have to be willing to take the actions afterwards because it's really just revealing what you're here for. And like each of us on our soul journey has those experiences for a reason to shape us for who you are, but you have to be willing to let go
Yeah.
um, and surrender and kind of really step back into the alignment with what you're here for.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, you are completely different. That when you see the thing, you're like, okay, or you start working with it and make the change and alchemize the things and transform yourself, or you're gonna have to numbing yourself even more to
Yeah.
try to shut up the things that are over there already. So
Yeah.
you could go for better or for worse. It's like it's kind of like that. And I remember that, like for me, I went first for worse. Like for worse in the sense that I didn't know how to deal with it, and then I think my nervous system wasn't ready for that yet. Or it was because I did it. So it happened. I was. But my nervous system was so dysregulated
Hmm.
that it took me like 3 months to get into a point that I could actually handle what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I started having panic attacks, a lot of anxiety, and because of that panic attacks, because every time that I closed my eyes, I could still see colors and geometric shapes, and I was just tripping still. And and of course I couldn't sleep because of
Hmm.
that. And those moments that I had before, they were kind of mild, that I couldn't breathe, it came even worse. So I was in my, I think my panic attacks were like, my thought for my panic attacks were, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die because I couldn't breathe. Right? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm gonna die. Like literally. Even though when you go to that process with the ayahuasca, you cannot die in an energetic, like spiritual level. But physically, I was there dealing with my real life, and I had this thought that came into my mind that something gonna happen to me. And also another thought that I had was, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm going crazy right now.
Hmm.
I never gonna like be able to be normal again, and
Yeah.
I never gonna stop looking to these little tangling things in my head, and I couldn't sleep. And I remember like that I was like so tired. I was like so tired. I have to talk with my boss and explain him what I was going through. And I was like, I need time because I cannot do this. I cannot travel like that. I
Hmm.
was 28 years old, and I took my mom with me in three different flights for work, like traveling for work, because I wasn't able to just go by myself because I was
Wow.
so scared to have a panic attack in the airplane again, because I did that, or in the airport. Like being in the airport, it was so overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
So I had to bring my mom with me because
Yeah.
I couldn't do it myself.
So
So I had,
what was it with the experience? And so I know that you like after that, what tools did you use to either overcome the panic attacks or to kind of transition out of that state of being like it's kind of like an out of control situation where you need to reclaim control. So what helped you in that state?
One day, and that's when breath actually came to save me. One day I was like so tired, and I was just laying down on the floor by despair because I couldn't sleep all night and I was just so tired. And I was just like, I remember like the sunshine coming through the window, and I was like, okay, it's the day again. I couldn't sleep again. So I was like, I never had like suicidal thoughts or things like that. No, but I was just so tired, and I was like, oh, another day I'm here. Like, why? I was like, why? What is this life? Like, I don't
Mhm.
want this. And I remember I was just, I going to my knees and laying on the floor, and I was just there, and I just started crying, and I was like, what is this? And the answer that I got was, it was, even when you feel that you are on the bottom right now, you are being whole. Like,
Mhm.
like you are not going further down. You're whole on the floor. Okay. And it was like, if you if you're still living, it's because you're breathing. Start there. And
Amazing.
that's when I have this like kind of like eureka moment, epiphany in my life, that I was like, I'm breathing, I'm alive, I have a purpose for this. And I start one conscious breath at a time, step by step, holding into my breath as my anchor and my medicine,
Mhm.
and start doing the things that this thing was screaming me that I have to do. And it was like, no more relationship with somebody that doesn't serve you.
Mhm.
Uh, work on your emotions, let it be, don't trap them, feel them, breathe them.
Mhm.
And I started doing all this inner work that I was avoiding for a long time, that I was just bypassing it by super happy and positive energy, but
Yeah.
not really doing the work that I have to do. And I start with that, just with breath. That's why I really believe, and yeah, I'm a believer that breath is not just a technique, it's not just a method. Just think about that. When you come to the world, the first thing that you do when you are out of the womb, you have to take an inhale and cry. And
Mhm.
when you left this world, you left with an exhale. So breath
Wow.
is a portal. Breath is a portal for your healing, and it's a portal that connects your spiritual and energetically realms to this body. And the body is the temple that you have to take care of it. And if you are not connected with those,
Mhm.
you are just moving. But one thing is that you are surviving, and another thing is that you are like fully living.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's when I was like all in on the practice of breath, and just be very like kind with myself and gentle with myself, and just starting to allow my feelings to come and just breathe with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's amazing because then you were able to actually transmute them or alchemize them like you were talking about. And it's through that portal, which it really is like your breath is your life force. If as long as you're living, you're breathing.
Yeah.
And I love that picture that you gave of you come in with an inhale and then you leave with an exhale. So on that last exhale, that's like releasing. That's when your soul releases from your body, which is the temple. And going back to what you said at the beginning is like there's so many different practices that are out there. There's so many different modalities, and each of them have a place, and it's just depending on what works for you and your body, but it's understanding that in the first place of what works with you and what works with your body and using that. But I think it's also to your point of spiritual bypassing, it's not just doing the motions, which some of us do. And I think that there's so many of us, especially in the day-to-day life where we just get into a routine, we get into a habit, we're going to work, we'll check a box off the list because we did a workout or we kept ourselves going. And something for me in my healing journey that my doctor shared because I was like, well, he's like, what are you doing for self-care? And I was like, well,
Mhm.
I'm going to the chiropractor, I'm working out every day, I'm doing all of like these things, but I was just checking the boxes. And he's like, Sam, you're just keeping yourself alive. You're
Mhm.
not actually doing self-care. Like, have you taken a moment to go get a massage or like do something for you that's fueling you? And I think
Mhm.
something that clicked for me is like it's the intention behind it and the ritual of even if it's just like washing your face when I do that, it's like cleansing the energy or really taking a moment to be present and absorb that fully within your body. Like something as simple as your breath, integrating that into a practice where it is actual breath work is such a different experience, especially if you do like holotropic breath work or anything like that, that can it can almost be psychedelic where you're getting those feelings but you are something that came through for me this week actually was going back to breath work, which I haven't done in a while. And that experience was because I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't know why, but I felt anxious and my like body was buzzing and I was like, what is all this energy? And I just heard like you need to do breath work. And that was me reclaiming control of that feeling. So if I put myself into a state of being that buzzing and that anxious feeling, but I was in control of it because I was taking control of my breath. That's when I
Mhm.
was able to kind of ground that energy. So it really is truly magical. And I love that you're taking that experience and sharing it. Because somebody said to me recently, like with my cycle syncing, she's like, that helped you to heal yourself on your journey. But what made you pursue that and share it with other people? Why didn't you just take it and process it and move on with your life? Well, you turned it into a whole business and a mission. And I was like, I felt like I couldn't not share that because
Yeah,
it's a disservice.
I think one of the I I always have this calling to help people. That's why I study physical therapy.
Mhm.
But this whole thing, um, after all that happened, I finally found a man that was good and energetically a match for when I was
Yes.
and have all the checks of what I really wanted in a relationship. And I married him. And I'm originally from Costa Rica,
Okay.
so English is not my first language. I speak Spanish. And when I married him, I moved to US, and and I have to start all my immigration process for the green card and all that. And I have to resign my job because my
Mm.
job requires a lot of traveling. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was kind of nice because it gave me time. It was kind of nice because it gave me time to do things that I didn't have time before. Like
Mhm.
I did my yoga training. I started my certification for a life coach and things like that that I always wanted to do, which helped me to integrate all of my past experience with everything in my personal. But I wasn't really into like I couldn't see myself like a life coach per se.
Mhm.
But then I became a mom. I have two daughters, and what I mean, being a mom is just completely transform your life also. And so there's a lot of transformation over there. And what I
Mhm.
could bring to them, like to help kind of like the world. In the world they're gonna be there. Like I mean they're gonna raise over there and they're gonna grow up, and I want the world to be better for them.
Yeah.
And And I was like, I need to start sharing with people what it works for me.
Mhm.
No, of course, everybody has their own path, and everybody gonna click in different like things that work for them because every journey is different. But if I know what, like, when I said the breath is your superpower, own it. It's kind of like the tagline of what I do. But it's not just because it's a tagline, it's because it's my life experience. And that's why I wanted to bring that to the people. Like, because breath is so primal, is accessible anywhere, is going with you wherever you go, the breath go with
Mhm.
you. So it's accessible anytime, anywhere, doesn't cost you anything. So you don't have to
Yeah.
pay actually to like, you just have to be a little more conscious and aware of how to use it. It's your right of birth power.
Yeah.
Like it's your tool, right of birth tool that you can just use to center yourself. And you don't have to spare 30 minutes a day every single day to do a breath work. You could just be conscious about how you're breathing, and that's going to help you to regulate your nervous system. I do a lot of sighs. I do a lot of like every time that I kind of feel that I'm losing my patience with my girls or things like
Mm.
that, I'm like, and it's like something so easy, like just to do that. You just and you kind of like it's something that is very interesting is that you actually sigh more than 200 times per day, but you don't even notice. And it's your body just trying to help you to calm down. But if you kind of be aware of that, you do it almost like every 5 minutes and you don't even notice. But if you bring it that as a simple practice, it doesn't have to be like 30 minutes, but if you just feel that you are sighing, you're on the computer and you feel that you're sighing, do another cycle. Like consciously, just do another. Just
Mhm.
inhale and just let it go. Doesn't have to be like you just melt yourself, drop your shoulders, and just use that. That could be simple as that. Could be simple as yawning. You're like, that's breath work too. You just
Yeah.
yawn. And you could actually stimulate a reflection. Like it's a reflex. Yawning is a reflex. So you could
Mhm.
stimulate that. If you're yawning, first of all, I think in society, yawning is kind of like not a good matter, right? Because if you're yawning, you're like you're like covering your mouth. If you are talking with somebody, it could be seen like irrespectful. Like if you are
Yeah.
not because you're kind of bored about what the person is saying, right? No, you just do it. Like I started kind of like getting into this um thing on myself that when I catch myself yawning, I stopped doing this. I was just like, and I tried to do it like the lion for the Metro Golden Mayor, like like just do it. Like
Mhm.
that's so simple, and your nervous system gonna love it, and you just allowing your parasympathetic response to help you, to regulate you, to liberate stress, to just feel it, and you can just start doing it like sides, for example. You can just do it like for gratitude, your side of joy,
Mhm.
your side of thankful because we're alive, your side of like, it's Friday, like just do it. And you
Yeah.
in bringing just little things in your life will make so much impact in you, but you have to start, but you have to do it. You have to be consistent. Say consistency is better. Intention and consistency, it's more powerful
Yeah.
than actually having a 30 minutes every, I don't know, other day or every 3 days and like
Mhm.
super intensive, like intensive practice. And I think one of the mistakes that I see, I mean, this is my perception, okay? One of the mistakes that I see sometimes with breathwork facilitators is Did they bring all those practices? And of course, I practice myself and I know that that could help. But if you never do breathwork before and you're just starting from zero and you're gonna start doing a super intense practice, you're gonna you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna have
Mhm.
those feelings that I have when I stopped taking my birth control pills coming
Mhm.
because my body doesn't know how to react to this. And instead of helping, I just gonna exacerbate my stress of my anxiety or
Mhm.
my so I think you have to start with very gentle practices,
Mhm.
very be very kind with yourself, just be very consistent and be aware. Just to
Yeah.
have just to have like a conscious deep breath. And if you don't know what is a deep breath, just put one hand in your belly, one hand in your chest, and first of all, notice how you breathe. You breathe,
Mhm.
is your hand in your belly moving or is your hand in your chest moving?
Mhm.
And that's one step of awareness. The other step of awareness is like, okay, oh, my chest is moving. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna try to be intentional on when I inhale, I'm gonna try to let my belly rise. And you switch to a diaphragmatic breathing, which is just breathing with your belly, which is the one that help you to ground you and help your nervous system and help to reset
Mhm.
your stress or whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
And you just start with that. You're working, just take a conscious breath and keep going. You're
Yeah.
walking, do it the same. You walk your dog, use the time for that. You are taking a shower, use the time for that. You are
Mhm.
folding clothes, do the time for that. Just intention and consistency is a powerful thing
Yeah.
more than just do super 30 like maybe
Yeah.
not what you need. So
Yeah. And I think that's great because you're meeting yourself where you're at. And by habit stacking and doing the things like you said when you're walking the dog or when you're washing your hair and you're in the shower, and just pairing it with things that you're already doing and just being intentional in noticing your body, like that is where that's the goal of it anyway. Like you don't have to do an intense practice unless you're feeling called to do that or you've been working on that, but just meeting yourself where you're at and giving yourself the grace to be able to do that.
yeah.
So I'd love to hear, like within your business, um, how can people work with you, or how do you work with people? Do you work with like group facilitation for breath work? Do you work with them on integrating these things into their daily routine? Is it one-to-one? What does that look like for people that are interested in working with you?
Well, I wanted to open to do a one-on-one, but like my big what I wanted to do is like hosting like workshops in group sessions. Um, but I started the my Instagram maybe like 3 months ago.
Okay.
And I've been having a lot of people asking me like, hey, uh, do you do a one-on-one? And then I wasn't really going in that direction because I wanted to I'm planning on having my own app. So that's kind of like my
Amazing.
goal for the future. But I'm like, man, like if people are asking about that,
Why not?
why not, right? So, and in the meantime, could be great to start doing that and start like collecting maybe some experience that the people have and things like that. So
Yeah,
I'm open to that opportunity, and but definitely is more like I'm doing like more like workshops and things like that. But
amazing.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, I love all of the different tools. I think like closing out with so many different practices of how you can just intentionally check in with your body is so amazing. And I love that, you're just kind of figuring it out as you go too. It's like, okay, well, people are needing one-to-one. Because I think that's an important lesson too of just checking in with your body, checking in with yourself where you're at and recognizing, again, giving yourself grace for where you're at and just saying, okay, I'm going to do this one thing today, or I'm just going to be aware for these 5 minutes and to check in with yourself. And on that note, I can't believe we're already like almost at an hour, but I loved this conversation. There was so much goodness, and I think so many people that are listening can really see themselves in the story that you shared and then take these tangible tasks to hopefully integrate into their life. So if anybody wants to follow along with your journey and hopefully your app that's coming out at some point,
Yeah.
or do a workshop with you or learn more about what you're posting, where can they find you? And I'll also add the links below.
Yeah. The Instagram page is a breath lab, that yoga studio. And that's probably like the main thing for now. And yeah, like everybody that wanted to just reconnect with themselves, and I keep everything very simple. I try to keep everything very simple. It's very breath awareness center also. I practices as well, but it's more like breath awareness. Be very gentle and kind of funny too, to keep it very human, because we need to laugh and we need to be happy too. And not everything is super serious. So
Yes.
yeah, that's how we could connect.
I love that. I love that. And I think that the awareness is really that's the gateway, that's the open point, and just opening yourself up to the portal of transformation with breath. Like you said, it's free. Like you can do it wherever. You can help take control of your life in that quick instance of just becoming aware of it. And so
Yeah.
it's so,
Yeah,
so important.
1 minute that you could do, like a conscious breath, could
Yeah.
shift could shift completely your mood and your nervous system. And I love that.
Yeah, it shifts so much. Like this week, I was reminded of the actual power of being intentional behind it instead of I moved recently, so it was just like I was go, go, go. And then I think, reconnecting with my breath is really what allowed me to be grounded and feel good about where I'm at, where I'm going. So hopefully everybody else can do that too. And I will drop the links below for everybody to connect with you and to just become more aware of their breath and follow along with your practice. And this was such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Mm.
I so loved every minute of it.
Thank you very much for the space. I love the energy.
Thank you. You are as well. All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.